I watched every Scooby Doo movie and special, so now I'm gonna rank them. The Scooby Doo movies are ones that I hold incredibly close to my heart, especially the older ones that I had on VHS as a kid. As of 2025, there's been 48 Scooby Doo movies. Most of those direct to video, but there's some TV movies, theatrical releases, and live action movies mixed in as well. So I figured what better way to spend my time than watching every single one, and then rank them. Okay, let's go. The first Scooby Doo special is an interesting one. Basically, Scooby and the gang have always been actors. None of the scares were real. So basically this is Wes Craven's new nightmare about 25 years ahead of its time. Shaggy acts as Scooby's agent to try and get his big break into stardom, and we get a bunch of bizarre Scooby parodies of 60s and 70s media like Superman, The Sound of Music, and Charlie's Angels. The pacing is all over the place. Plenty of odd skits thrown in with that Hollywood exec plot. Also, a little bit weird that Quentin Tarantino based Once Upon a Time in Hollywood on this. Don't fact check that. Aside from that, the animation is genuinely stunning compared to the Scooby Doo shows from the time. Some of these songs are pretty fun, and it's a very bizarre start to Scooby on the big screen.
Oh, I know you're a pro, but this is my first time.
Hey, yo. Alright, that's one down, but we've still got plenty more to go.
Ghosts, guns, a Goonie girl!
I mean, what else could you possibly want? Scooby's first feature film sees him meet the Boo Brothers, this deceased variant of the Three Stooges. Shaggy inherits this southern plantation home, continuing his rather questionable Confederate family history, and gets sent on a cursed treasure hunt. The atmosphere is super dark and gloomy, and the Boo Brothers are sufficiently goofy to create a pretty fun time. The best part is probably when the villain just stops pretending to be a ghost and just whips out a gun. There's a lot, and I mean a lot going on here. Random escaped gorilla, redneck neighbor tries to kill the boys, and a horny, bordering on feral country girl constantly chasing down Shaggy for kisses. And if you think the Confederate plantation is questionable, what's the socio-political climate like when 3 ghosts make their living hunting down ghosts? Much to think about. Next up we got Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School, which was always my personal favorite from the made-for-TV era. I wore this VHS out. This one's so much fun. The first half of this one sees Shaggy and the boys coach this all-girls school to volleyball victory over these JROTC boys. Oh, and also the girls are all monsters. And they're just adorable. The second half plays more like a traditional episode, with Revolta hypnotizing and kidnapping them, and the boys go on the rescue mission. For the most part, the girls save themselves, making this a truly iconic feminist movie. And there's so many characters in this one, but everyone actually gets their time to shine and stand out, which is a great credit to the writing team. And I would have loved a Ghoul School spinoff. Y'all wanted to be at Hogwarts, I wanted to be at Ghoul School. We are not the same. Also, I just really want Winnie's Iron Maiden juicer. Oh yeah, this ends with the Scrappy rap. So...
Hey Scoob, dig the puss on that chick!
Dude, Shaggy, you cannot say that. Scooby-Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf sees Shaggy as a professional racist, race car driver, who's apparently cursed to turn into a werewolf, and also has a girlfriend named Googie. Sure. Now, this is basically wacky racing, so if you hate that kind of thing, what, you hate fun? The race itself takes almost 40 minutes, no hyperbole, but it's also really fun with a bunch of these cool monster hot rods. Perhaps NASCAR or Formula 1 could take a page from this book and turn items on. Like, imagine the GOAT Lance Stroll just turns into a missile to take out Max Verstappen. Also, you might think that this follows Ghoul School, but no, these are all new monsters apparently. Also, Dracula and his boys show up at the end like, we're back, and then the movie just ends there. Oh, and J. Robert Oppenheimer's cousin voices the mummy? Vanapyra, please call me. So, I get lured in with the promise of Scooby-Doo doing 1001 Nights, only to get stuck with his gender-bent version of Aladdin with Yogi Bear and a Bugs Bunny Elmer Fudd feud with Magilla Gorilla. Also, the Cliff is voiced by the same dude as Gibby Norton. Little dude don't know what to do with all that. It's got bad jokes, both in quality and how they've aged, barely has any Scooby-Doo, and some rather unremarkable animation. I straight up can't recommend this to anybody. Unless you hate yourself. Then sure, go for it. The first of Mook Animation's crack at the Scooby franchise, which would soon be known as the Renaissance era, and for good reason. Simultaneously works as a culmination and subversion of the Scooby formula, taking a brisk 21 minutes to crumble up the past episode recipes and ask an important question. What if there is no villain to unmask? What if the evil lurking in the bayou is, and always has been, real? A manifestation of generational trauma, colonialism, and historical grotesqueries cloaked in the Southern Gothic veil. This is no longer a kids movie. This has the most thought-provoking, immature plot in the franchise, and it's really pushing that PG rating. I love this movie so much. Not only as a Scooby Doo movie, but it's also on my Rushmore of animated masterpieces. Everyone say thank you Witch's Ghost for introducing us to the Hex Girls. While they really shine in the couple of scenes they get, Tim Curry turns in an absolutely insane performance as Ben Ravencroft. He perfectly taps into a mix of terror and charisma seen in some of his most iconic roles, Pennywise and Dr. Frankenfurter, to convey his desire to reclaim his ancestors' possessions. Desires turn to desperation, and his illusion of kindness falls away to his true manipulative ways once the real star of the show, Sarah Ravencroft, arrives. A little too late perhaps. I could have done with half an hour of her, and maybe less demon pumpkins and giant turkeys. Oh, and also less Billy Ray Cyrus singing the theme song. Even still, this is atmospheric horror at its best. Scooby Doo and the Alien Invaders was always my favorite of the Renaissance 4. I wore out this VHS as a kid. The gang are driving through the deserts of the Southwest and make a stop in Roswell, New Mexico, where we get all types of extraterrestrial fun. But more than that, this manages to capture the small town charm and paranoia of the area so well. The side characters are all so believable, especially in these diner scenes. If Zombie Island is a Daphne movie, and Witch's Ghost is a Velma movie, Alien Invaders is absolutely a Shaggy and Scooby movie. Their love story with Crystal and Amber is just so cute, I love it. That said, if a hot alien friendzoned me and said that long distance can't work before zooming off to another galaxy, I'm blowing my shit smooth off. Anyways, yeah, this is still amazing, and I love it. And just like that, we're at the end of the Renaissance 4. This one's a lot more true to the typical Scooby formula, even wrapping up with the gang explaining how they all figured it out by the end. But this one's clearly a love letter to the franchise, bringing back some of the most classic monsters Scooby and the gang have ever seen, and in a pretty clever way. Not to mention the actual video game release alongside this, which I'll probably get into in a separate video. What can I say, I'm a sucker for video game tie-ins to movies. Animation did take a big step back here, and it seems like studio meddling was in full force, which led to the eventual departure of Jim Stenstrom and team from the franchise. But man, what a run it was. I mean, could there be a more iconic early 2000s movie than this? This is a perfect time capsule for 2002. Jam-packed full of sexual innuendos, that spiky styled hair that could only work back then, and some of the worst CGI abominations you'll ever see in your life. This cast is absolutely perfect. The script by James Gunn is so infectiously quotable, and beyond all of the silliness is an indictment of capitalism that I just love to see. Unfortunately for them, they also made Spooky Island look cool as hell. Daphne's purple go-go boots, such a slay. There's an original Outkast and Killer Mike song which gets a big hell yeah from me. And same goes for the dude with the Mao Zedong shirt. Also, apparently we were robbed of a Daphne and Velma kiss. Cowards. Everything about this movie screams, how the hell did this get made? And I have no idea, but I'm so glad it did. So after 4 pretty fantastic animated movies and an ultra camp live action, what's the best way to follow up on that? Stretching a normal episode into 3 times its length? Legend of the Vampire is pretty disappointing if I'm honest. Whereas the Renaissance 4 took the formula and flipped it on its head, they go right back to that formula here. And this one really wants to feel like a classic episode, reusing a lot of those audio cues from Where Are You? Except it's about 70 minutes instead of 22, so you hear the same ones like 7 times. The Hex Girls are severely underutilized here, and turning an aboriginal Sasquatch into a vampire for no apparent reason, combined with the animation taking a notable step back, it's hard for me to put this one too high up on the list. So, let me get this straight. Last time out we replaced an actual Sasquatch beast with a vampire for no reason, and now we have Bigfoot in place of a Chupacabra, which is like max 4 feet tall. Right. Of course, much respect for Daphne and Velma's original voice actors for their final roles, but my god, they sound like the Golden Girls here. I love that despite his obvious struggles, Fred at least tries to use some of the local language to speak to people. It's very endearing. The real monster of Mexico was American capitalists all along. The guy even complains when the locals just don't learn English. So rude. My Mexican friends are hella chill. They even gave me a cool nickname, Pinche Gringo. I don't know what it means, but it's probably something like super cool guy. After 2 pretty underwhelming animated movies sandwiched in between the live action ones, we finally get a return to something a bit better with Scooby Doo and the Loch Ness Monster. Speaking of, want to see the worst CGI monsters unleashed. But man, this has not aged well. 3D monster in a 2D world? What is this, Smiling Friends?
Whoa! Is that blackface, dude?
No, this isn't blackface. I'm an actual demon.
Still, we get introduced to the best side character the gang ever meets, Del Chillman. My man. Plus, kinda goes back to the real monster idea, since by the end they realize that Nessie may actually be out there. Okay, I love Aloha Scooby Doo so much. The set pieces are so stunning. It really feels like we explored Hawaii with the gang. From the beaches to the jungles to the seemingly endless caves and volcanoes. Also, this is Daphne's magnum opus. She's fantastic here. Body T, ultra smart, and a complete badass while surfing. Her dental floss maneuver to save herself is the coolest thing in the franchise. A little bit weird to acknowledge Hawaii's struggles with colonialism, just to turn around and make the villains two natives. Definitely some bias here because I used to do surf competitions, but this just reminds me why Daphne's the best. Scooby-Doo and Where's My Mummy is surprisingly really good. We've got a discount Lara Croft Tomb Raider plot that's actually pretty fun, and probably the best plot twist in the franchise when we see Velma's behind the curse of Cleopatra. Plus a lot of ancient Egyptian lore, which is always a bonus. It's nowhere near as good as The Mummy with Brendan Fraser, but hey, I'll take it. This one was actually the first of the animated movies to get a theatrical release as well. And fair enough, this one probably rocks on the big screen. But we've had Comic Sans opening credits, now we have Papyrus? Give me a break. The whole Lost City side plot was kind of a big waste of time, but all hail a Scoobus. Scooby-Doo Pirates Ahoy was always one of my favorites when I was a kid, and it still holds up fairly well. Not nearly as scary as I remember it being, but that's to be expected. I just love a nice Bermuda Triangle mystery. Also, this might have the best soundtrack for one of these films. We've got some real nasty nautical tunes going on. It's awesome. And the plot's pretty fun as well. The opening half hour or so with Fred's parents and the gang solving fake mysteries is really cute. And of course, bonus points for the real supernatural stuff at the end. Chill Out Scooby-Doo gets a bit of a bonus for the first third that sees a fun deviation from our typical formula, as Shaggy and Scooby get separated from Fred and the girls via some odd all-you-can-eat flight, so the other three lead the rescue mission. The minor characters we meet are interesting. We get Del Chillman back, so hell yeah. But other than that, we've got a rip-off Looney Tunes guy, some pretty odd Himalayan locals, and a greedy professor. Minga's whole plot is just to jump Del Chillman's bones. Real? But also makes less sense the longer you think about it. The Yeti at least looks super cool. No more terrible CGI monsters. Alright, usually during my Scooby movie marathons, right about now is where I start to hit the wall. I straight up just don't like this one. There's so much batshit insane stuff happening here and literally none of it makes sense. The most spectacular part is this has some of the best moments of any of the movies, and still manages to be bad. The Goblin Jazz Bar? I'm living. The Inconceivable guy getting a full jazz solo? Peak cinema. Fred and the girls get sidelined pretty heavily here, especially Velma, which is never a positive. And some weird little fairies that are just kind of annoying. Oh, also the Goblin Dimension exists, you just gotta accept that. A movie full of ambition and just severely lacking payoff. Okay, don't like that Shaggy's foot is so prominent on the poster. Favorite part is definitely when Fred says that they're from America and they just instantly get thrown in the stew pot. Fair. Absolutely insensitive to Pacific Islanders. I think at some point the term savage gets thrown around. Yikes. Even worse, these songs are turbo dog shit. Just a bunch of nonsensical Japanese sounding things written by the guy who directed this. I'll give you 1 second to guess what he looks like. Yep, you were right. Literally the only cool thing is that the fight scenes look nice. Skip the movie. Find an AMV or something instead. Okay, and if I say that this is the best origin story for the gang, then what? We pretty much never get to see how the gang become friends. And this is as organic as it gets. Sure, it's basically The Breakfast Club, but hey, if it works, it works. This is just such a cute and charming movie. There's basically no budget, but that always makes for the most fun filming. Like, it's not good, but that's what makes it good. And the casting is so on point. They all play the character perfectly and play off each other well. Sure, Fred's brunette, yeah whatever. But you're gonna cast Hayley Kiyoko as Velma and still try to tell me she's straight? Girl. First minute of this and we get a gratuitous ass shot. Welcome back, Texas Chainsaw. This is probably the horniest Scooby-Doo movie ever made. Velma's little sister just spawns in and randomly has a crush on Shaggy. Fred has the hots for a teacher. I get it, but he ain't had to do all that. And the housekeeper and the ice cream guy get it on in the end. The animation step up for this is very much appreciated. This is probably the best looking one so far. and we actually get some Daphne and Fred developments, with Daphne's more vulnerable side shown to try and be less klutzy to impress Fred. We don't really get moments alone like this very often, so some girl time is really nice to see. And first time for Matthew Lillard as Shaggy in an animated movie, so hell yeah. Shaggy's heroic arc to impress Madeline is really cute. Surely we won't totally forget about her after this. A Scooby Doo take on camp slasher horror? Oh, I'm seated. This is so good. Has 3 pretty good monsters and one of the most jaw-dropping twists in the franchise. Also follows in the previous movie's footsteps in being detrimentally horny. But it is a Friday the 13th type movie, so what do you expect? I'm living for Daphne's crop top and cutoffs. A slay as always, Miss Blake. Don't really like that her only personality trait is jealousy because Fred lusts over another woman that he just barely met. Like, everyone else gets a camper to mentor, and she's just there. She's literally just a girl. The best monster has to be the Woodsman. Felt like such a genuinely menacing and relentless foe for the gang. The writing for this one stands out the most. All of the backstories and lore felt real. And the twist is pretty on par with Orphans. Definitely one of the best Scooby movies. Wow, this one is bad. Like, not even good bad, just straight up bad. All of the charm from the first TV live action is zapped. Daphne and Fred are doing this situationship thing and are insufferable. Shaggy's in love with Velma, much to the disdain of Scooby. Stop me if you've heard that one before. Velma gets possessed by a demon witch ghost and Shaggy performs an exorcism. I don't know what's wilder. An ending musical montage going through decades, with the reason that disco died, and a rap that's even worse than Scrappy's? Or the fact that Dean Cundy is the cinematographer here. Yeah, like the Dean Cundy who shot the first 3 Halloweens, the Back to the Future movies, Jurassic Park, and Jack and Jill. Truly a trip of a movie. Had fun, 5 stars. Alright, screw the A-plot, this one's all about the B-plot. Okay, so basically, Shaggy gets hypnotized and anytime the word bad comes up, he flips between his normal cowardly self to an ultra macho badass Shaggy, which leads him to beat up an entire biker gang, win a motorcycle race while saving the biker gang's leader, thus earning his respect enough to help the gang punch ghost dinosaurs and save them from a cave explosion caused by archaeologists who found a fully preserved dinosaur, and used a phantom dinosaur to try and clear the town out. But they're not the only ones. There's a completely separate group using a phantom dinosaur to do their own thing and it's just not really brought up again. Oh, also Velma tries to bone a femboy version of herself. This is a real movie, I promise. Genuinely no idea where this one goes. Could be number 1, or it could be the worst thing ever. Or the much more secret third option. It took longer than I would have expected for the franchise to dip into the musical market, and it's, exactly what you would expect. I didn't really like any of the songs here, but the best one was probably the Vampire Theater Kid one. Also, they must have heard me complain about Daphne being jealous that Fred gets a new love interest every time. This time Daphne gets a love interest, and Fred's the jealous one. Cool. They're juggling a lot of side stories here, and pretty much none of them have a good payoff. And most of the characters I already forgot about by the end. Also, a musical without the Hex Girls? What are you, stupid? This is the first of 6 DVD special short films, and it's pretty much just like a standalone episode, seeing Shaggy become an Olympic sprinter. This was created in accordance with the 2012 London Olympic Games, which is really funny to imagine using this to advertise for the second biggest sporting event in the world. The only thing more absurd would be using one of these to promote the World Cup. The story's fine, basically just a ripoff of The Unnatural from What's New Scooby Doo, with some good Fred lines mixed in. Not as good as Mario and Sonic at the London 2012 Olympic Games. Okay, Big Top Scooby Doo sounds like it should be a lot better than it actually ends up being. It's still fun, don't get me wrong. Daphne continues her motorcycle stunts, which is super cool, but the rest just kinda suck. Velma's just kinda here. Fred drags everyone here even though they want to do literally anything but this, and this might be the worst Shaggy movie of them all. He gets a little bit of clout and immediately turns into an asshole. Werewolf designs are generally pretty hard to mess up, but boy, they sure did here. Decent twist at the end, but human Scooby Doo is probably the most cursed thing of all time. This is basically like a Scooby Doo version of John Carpenter's The Thing. Kinda wild that I'm actually enjoying these short films more than the feature-length ones from this era. There's no learning the real meaning of Christmas moment or anything like that in this one. This is just straight up a Christmas horror, so hell yeah. Also, this proves that Santa's real, so that's nice. This is kinda like if Ready Player One was just Hanna-Barbera properties. Might have helped if I cared even the slightest bit about Blue Falcon. But alas. A lot of these newish Scooby movies revolve around just one of the gang, while the others get a little bit of scrap screen time. This is a Scooby movie through and through, which is kinda rare and a nice change. but Daphne's consumerism final boss. Buying a bunch of these Funko Pop type things from Comic-Con. Velma's just super mean about the gang's hobbies, and Fred's here too. This one kinda takes on how superhero franchises went away from the goofy, campy fun to brooding, dark, dramatic pieces, but sides more with the silly movies. As if The Dark Knight isn't light years better than the best Marvel movie.
I've been a lot of things before, but I've never been a giant cracker.
Look, Shag, you're on thin ice, man. This one's an interesting one to try and decipher, considering I'm a grown-ass man and no longer 4 years old. The puppet idea is cute, and it's set during a pup named Scooby Doo period. But man, this just ain't working. Missed opportunity for the unmasking to reveal just a hand. That might have saved this one. I couldn't find the production budget for this one, but I reckon it was about whatever they could scrounge up looking for spare change. Pretty much none of the jokes landed for me. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Is this even real? Is Scooby Doo even a real thing? Who are you people? Okay, this one caught me totally by surprise. There's been such a lull in the quality of these, particularly in the writing department, but this one's actually good. There's a big Daphne Fred will they won't they arc that's actually engaging. The scene where Daphne finally confesses to Velma that she loves him is one of my favorites in the franchise. You know what, fine, you got me to fall for the hero ship, you bastards. There's also so many villains that each time it's actually a nice twist. The Jewel Thief guy is genuinely pretty frightening, and all the side characters are pretty well fleshed out. Daphne and Fred even throw the competition so this little girl and her family don't go homeless, so it's a really sweet ending all around. Really is a shame that all the good stories and monsters get limited to these 22-minute shorts. This one plays out more like an episode of What's New in that there's no real plot and things just kinda happen, and somehow it all works. We've got some good Halloween autumn vibes, small town squabbles, and the gang in costumes at the end. So, can't hate it really. Okay, actually, can hate it a little bit because Fred said nice mask to this guy. What the hell is going on with their faces in this one? Am I losing it? This one probably could have used some extra time to flesh out the story a little bit more. It does feel a bit rushed. Also, it could have done something interesting regarding the incel being the villain because the pretty girl rejects him every time. But no, we regress back to the Daphne is jealous that Fred has eyes for another girl thing. Yay. Fred gets second place and congratulates the guy who got first. That's nice. Alright, let's check in with the Shag and Scoop plot. Oh. We've truly entered late stage capitalism. At one point, John Cena tackles a boulder and his theme song plays a little too loudly for no reason. Well, actually the reason is this was made in collaboration with WWE Studios. And it's very clear who held the cards here. WWE City is basically like North Korea, but with Vince McMahon instead of Kim Jong-un. Also, John Cena gets knocked unconscious and Shaggy and Scooby turn him into a speedboat to escape a ghost bear. And a dog wins WrestleMania. This one's so boring. There's like 3 scenes of plot connected by a bunch of nothing. But man, I sure am glad that there's only one WWE crossover. Hey, remember when I said that the only thing weirder than having Scooby-Doo advertise the Olympics is having Scooby-Doo advertise the World Cup? Yeah, here we are. The gang are in Brazil on vacation and solve some mystery blah blah blah, don't care. Let's get one thing straight. Apparently in the FIFA rulebook, if a team gets a red card, they can just replace the player sent off with a dog. He also scores the winning goal against the US. So what's more unrealistic? A dog scoring the winning goal in the World Cup final? Or the US men's national team making it to a World Cup final? I'm putting the house on the dog. Oh, the story kinda blows. I'm glad this was only 22 minutes. 2 seconds in and someone's looking up Daphne modeling pics. I know what you are. This one's pretty bizarre. It's like the editor watched a couple Edgar Wright movies and said, hell yeah, I'm gonna span this 100 times. It works for Wright, not for Scooby. The plot pretty much doesn't matter here, even if the answer is actually pretty fun. We bring back a lot of old villains from series past, and they legitimately try and kill the gang for revenge. They make Daphne think that she's fat, and therefore hideous, I guess? Which really ruins her self-esteem. Until Fred reassures her that she's still beautiful. So either she's fatphobic or dependent on a man's approval. Seems like a lose-lose situation for the writers. I don't know, Velma body tea, I guess? The Mystery Gang versus a Xenomorph sounds like it should be peak cinema, but ends up being pretty meh. It's actually so much like Alien that we might be in copyright infringement territory. We're also starting to get into that mid-2010s epic random funny moments kind of humor that I just despise. So that's no good. My biggest problem with this one is the pacing. We start by seeing Daphne fail her driving test and then immediately we're boarding a spaceship with no connector. Daphne and Velma have this toxic Yuri thing going on, and Fred's just straight up annoying. Man, I'd give anything to go back to Zombie Island. Pretty much this entire runtime is just Fred having a mental breakdown over nets. Perfect, no notes. Okay, a couple of notes. Scooby falls in love with another small dog.
You can't fuck that little dog.
Shaggy is the jealous one here. And Daphne and Velma just exist. Good play to use the term nets instead of traps though. That could have been something totally different. A Scooby Doo crossover that makes even less sense than the WWE one. Are the Utes just tapped into Kiss like that? What kind of lore could Kiss possibly have to make them aliens from another dimension, who are also the ones stopping Galactus from destroying the entire world? There's a lot of songs here, and they sing their only good song, I Was Made for Loving You, so that's cool. Genuinely some of the best animation they've had yet in that giant battle scene, and the guitar spaceship is wicked. But it all gets ruined with a "it was all a hallucination" bit. Oh, and also gets kinda ruined when Paul Stanley, who would have been 63 at the time, makes out with Daphne, who is, we'll be generous here, like 20? Also, kinda thought that Gene Simmons was their main guy, but that's probably just the amount of Gene Simmons Family Jewels that I watched talking. Alright, this is the first of 3 Lego Scooby Doo movies that were made, and admittedly, it is pretty cute. I've never had a Lego set, so I don't know how lore accurate this is, but I do know that people are steezed on Lego movies. I like when Shaggy removes his hairpiece to put on his helmet. Kinda sad that the best love interest for Velma is a Lego piece. This brings back our first ever villain costume, the Black Knight, and it's somehow more menacing here than it was back then. It's super light on plot, but overall it's just fine. Unfortunately, I do think that this could have just been a short film. Like, things happened, but simultaneously nothing happened. Kind of fitting that this is just soulless and plastic. It's definitely aimed at younger kids, which is a bit strange considering I feel like the Lego movie is a bigger hit with the older crowd. There are a lot of good horror references here at least. We get a knockoff Elvira played by Elvira herself. Give us a real animated Elvira, you cowards. Cringe selfie moment at the end. Okay, so imagine the reluctant werewolf, except instead of monsters, it's WWE superstars, for some reason. This one's at least a little less bland than the first crossover. There's a part where Stephanie McMahon drops her bestie facade with Daphne and shames her for having a dad who's only a millionaire. Oh, the horror. Again, I've never watched WWE, so this one's really not for me, but there's probably some good cameos and jokes here that fans will enjoy. A Maddie B. Raps reference in the big year of 2017? You got me fucked up. This one's supposed to be a Shaggy story, I mean, he's in the title and all, but we spend more time on Velma's horse allergies and her aversion to terrible fonts for some reason. They introduce a bunch of characters and don't really do much with them. Discount Maddie B sings the worst country song you've ever heard for over 2 minutes, and then learns how to ride a horse to stop a guy who tried to shoot Shaggy. Sure, why the hell not? Stay tuned next time for when I rewrite Blood Meridian with Scooby Doo characters. Legit almost turned this off after 2 minutes of straight musical. At one point I think Fred and Velma cranked that Soldier Boy. In fact, this whole movie is just a really good friendship building exercise for them, so that's nice. Otherwise, oh my god, this is so boring. The villains are exactly who you expect them to be. There's a good bit of cringe, and the whole Lego aspect just doesn't add enough fun. At least this was the final one. Seems like more of a Batman movie than a Scooby one, but it is pretty fun. A lot of Batman friends and foes, so definitely one to check out if you're into that. The story's pretty whatever. It's kinda like if the Snyder Cut was actually good. Still falls into the modern superhero trope of nostalgia baiting. Just this time the Mystery Gang are all in bat costumes. Not bad, and really good compared to some of these recent ones. Okay, I'm something of a connoisseur of bad movies. I can usually find something good in the worst movie you've ever seen. Daphne and Velma might be the worst movie of all time. This is very much of its time. Look, it's one of those stupid segue things you busted your ass on. Velma's personality is somehow worse than the Mindy Kaling one. They let Daphne go out in this? Velma's bangs scream 3 AM breakdown. There's a weird system kinda like that one from the Black Mirror Nosedive episode, except for high school. Okay, I actually did find something I like. Check this out. It looks like that shot from Fritz Lang's Metropolis. Historians will say they were really good friends. Peak cinema. Let's get a sequel going. So my issue with this is creating a food-based Scooby-Doo movie, and spreading misinformation that 160 degrees is good for chicken, when it's 165. Scooby-Doo is just working for Big Salmonella. As a kid who watched far too much Food Network, this was some good fun, even if Bobby and Giotto were probably my 2 least favorite show hosts. I feel like this one wanted to be included in those tweets that are like, man, Ghibli food always looks so good. Except none of the food here looks even slightly edible. If you're gonna do a food one, make the food stand out a bit. The lemon juice and visible ink on parchment was a really good touch though. Obsessed with how they managed to forget a lot of key stuff in this franchise, but remember that Fred can't drive stick. Also, really funny to think that it took 30 years for someone to be like, hey, we only captured 12 of those ghosts. This direct-to-video sequel of The 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo could have been used as the perfect conclusion and send off to a fantastic show. Instead, it completely retcons everything and debases the whole paranormal aspect. You know, the thing that makes it cool. Also states that the gang are not even 18 yet, which opens up a whole convoluted can of worms over the timeline of this franchise. Started off great, I love a nice Daphne-centric movie, but the ending absolutely ruined it for me. I hate modern Velma so much. Oh, and there's no Scrappy? Negative 1,000 points. No Bogle and Weird either. Negative 10,000 points. Well, at least Flim Flam's here. Boy, I sure am glad that this was the only time they did a nostalgia bait sequel and completely ruined it. Ah, right. This sequel to what many consider as the best Scooby-Doo movie of all time is such a disrespectful slap in the face to Scooby-Doo fans. It's emblematic of both where the Scooby-Doo franchise is and where cinema is on a broad scale. A soulless cash grab. Continues the awful characterization of the gang we've gradually seen. Even Shaggy and Scooby make the rest of their friends give up on their interests. And suddenly they have nothing to talk about, nothing in common. It's terrible. Continues this bizarre timeline they pigeonhole themselves into, and constantly contradicts everything about the original. A bunch of references, but no respect for them. A genuinely terrible movie. The intro song is Tupac's California Love? Alright, I'm in. This origin story for how Shaggy got Scooby is just so cute. And Simon Cowell's here. I'm out. Blue Falcon dabs? He's also voiced by Mark Wahlberg, who's really into pho in this movie. Oh, you don't believe me? Look up Mark Wahlberg Vietnamese for more. He's also got that Deadpool cadence to his character. Derogatory. Oh, they're really trying to pull me back in though. They got Outcast on the soundtrack? This is not nearly as bad as I thought it was. Probably helps that I'm watching this one after like 10 straight direct-to-video duds in a row.
My friends call me Dick.
Return to Zombie Island pissed me off so much that I forgot to tell you that Elvira was there. Like the actual one this time. Well, here she is now at least. Honestly, I had so much fun with this one. The most in a long time. The whole second half of this is like a big Halloween Mad Max chase. And pretty much everyone is great in this one. Elvira and Daphne have great chemistry. I love them switching outfits. Velma has a mind palace, apparently. Sherlock, you'll pay for your crimes to modern television. Also, Daphne and Elvira's outfit, Fred doing this, and Elvira existing, I'm looking respectfully. Bill Nye is just kind of randomly here too, and then he's a Catboy for a bit. Not even a Batman crossover, but Scarecrow helps out. Plus, a genuinely amazing massacre of these pumpkins. This is peak. Scooby-Doo loves a King Arthur reference. This one surprised me a bit at least. Not nearly as plain as they usually are with this story. This one adds a time travel arc. Kinda. And Daphne is just so cool in this one. Really, each member of the gang gets their chance to shine, and it's a lot of fun. Plus, the double twist ending is actually worth the wait. It's definitely not the best Scooby affair, but I think it's perfectly fine overall. Plus, Nick Frost is in this. How could you possibly not like that? Okay, there's not many cartoons I love more than Scooby-Doo, but Courage the Cowardly Dog is definitely one of them. Apparently all this time Nowhere was just right down the road from the gang in Crystal Cove. Small world, huh? Feels more like a Scooby special than a Courage one. Would have liked a bit more of that classic scary feel, but this is still pretty fun. But if you thought that the Scrappy rap or the rap from Mystery Begins was bad, Eustace gets a full 16 bars in and shakes some ass. Now this is peak. We've had some retcons in the franchise, but this might be the most egregious so far. Apparently this diva was creating all the costumes for every single villain we've ever seen. Sure, why the hell not? Also, I prefer the old art style over this one from Guess Who, but that's more of a personal preference. The animation in this one is really fluid and nice, but good god they fall into the trap that pretty much all of the cartoons these days do, relying on the haha funny face equals comedy. Just to clarify, it is in fact not funny. And the writers take so many jabs at the franchise, it begs the question if they even like it to begin with. I really just do not like this one. Hey, at least we finally got lesbian Velma. That's at least something. Metropolis in Shambles? Gee, wonder who could be behind this one. This is the final Scooby-Doo movie at the moment, and we just barely got it. This went through production hell. It was announced as a cancelled project, and then some good soul leaked the entire thing online. So the studio was just like, haha, just kidding guys, here, have the movie. And take a wild guess who was behind it. Yep, the Zass. It's a fine movie, but I'm kinda over these crossover specials. This came out in 2023. So 2024 marked the first time in 26 years that we didn't get a new Scooby movie each year. A sad realization that I've come to is perhaps Scooby just isn't that hit IP that it used to be, so who knows when we'll get that next one. There's both an animated and a live action series supposedly on the way, so those could be fun. Might suck. Either way, now's about as good a time as any to rank all of these movies and specials, from worst to best. Pretty much no shock here, the worst one was Scooby Doo and Arabian Nights. Straight up, can't stand this one. But it was really close between this one and Return to Zombie Island. Like, what were they even thinking there? Anyways, following that one up, we've got Lego Scooby Doo Blow Up Beach Bash, WrestleMania Mystery, Trick or Treat Scooby Doo, Scooby Doo and the Curse of the 13 Ghosts, Scooby Doo Adventures, the Mystery Map, Shaggy Showdown, Curse of the Lake Monster, Scooby Doo and the Gourmet Ghost, Scooby Doo and Crypto 2, Scooby Doo and the Samurai Sword, Lego Scooby Doo Haunted Hollywood, Scooby Doo and WWE Curse of the Speed Demon, Scooby Doo and the Beach Beastie, Moon Monster Madness, Scooby Doo and the Goblin King, Franken Creepy, Scooby Goes Hollywood, Mask of the Blue Falcon, Lego Scooby Doo Nighttime Terror, Mecha Mutt Menace, Straight Outta Nowhere, Scooby Doo meets Courage the Cowardly Dog, Haunted Holidays, Scooby Doo and the Monster of Mexico, Music of the Vampire, Scooby Doo and Kiss Rock and Roll Mystery, The Sword and the Scoob, Chill Out Scooby Doo, The Legend of the Vampire, Legend of the Phantasaur, Scooby Doo Spooky Games, Scooby Doo and Batman the Brave and the Bold, Scoob, Big Top Scooby Doo, Reluctant Werewolf, Scooby Doo meets the Boo Brothers, Scooby Doo and the Loch Ness Monster, Scooby Doo and the Spooky Scarecrow, Scooby Doo and Where's My Mummy, Pirates Ahoy, The Witch's Ghost, Abracadabra Doo, Scooby Doo The Mystery Begins, Scooby Doo and the Ghoul School, Stage Fright, Scooby Doo and the Cyber Chase, 2002, Aloha Scooby Doo, Camp Scare, Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, which leaves just one movie as my absolute favorite. And of course it's Scooby Doo and the Alien Invaders. Honestly, either way you flip these last two, it's fine either way for me. Thank you very much for watching to the end. This was a lot of fun. Shout out to all these lovely patrons for their support. I really appreciate it. If you want to get your name on here and watch the next videos a couple weeks early, I'll have it linked below and in the pinned comment if I remember. Not quite done with these movies just yet, bringing back an old series for one more ride. But until that's here, bye!